We had a strike one spring. I forget whether it was sophomore or junior year. I think it was maybe the junior year. That spring we closed the university and had demonstrations on campus, and we built a blockade over the main street through campus. And
what were you protesting?
well, it's interesting. Now that you mention it, I remember seeing someone made a list of all the things that we were protesting, and I was just flabbergasted. I was like, "You've got to be kidding! You're protesting all those things? This is it was a really long list: campus issues and international issues and political issues and sexual issues and all kinds of stuff. It was just like, I think that's a little bit too unfocused. That's my reaction. Because I feel really the energy of it. It was an interesting time. I really feel privileged to have lived through that. It was an interesting time because a lot of energy had built up around the civil rights movement, which was a little before my conscious time. I was maybe in junior high at the time. And then the Vietnam War became a major issue in high school. And so when I got to college, it was a pretty well, a few years later it was over. But I remember that, so there was this long list of things, and I remember thinking, well, really, this is about Vietnam, isn't it? And it seemed to me that whole, the sense that we wanted to change everything was really diluting what the real impulse was, and the idea that we were going to change everything about society seemed to me, even at the time, to be, sort of going too far with the energy. But the thing I really remember most, but what's coming to my mind right now about that period was there were a few people that engaged in more violent activities, a couple of whom I knew, and I feel like I saw a lot of the dynamics of what went on, where a lot of people were fairly sincere about their feelings and really wanting to express the desire for change, but most people really wanted all these activities to be peaceful. And some people, there were two reasons people did violent actions. One was they really felt that it was necessary for the students in general to experience oppression, to be actively suppressed by the powers that be, like the police in particular, to instigate actions that would end up bringing police to the scene. I was close enough to it that I saw them actually planning that, thinking in those terms, and that really offended me. See, at the time, the military was something of a target. So the military, the police, and that's another thing that offended me. The whole idea that the police were somehow the enemy. They were called pigs. That was the term that was routinely used for the police. That bothered me. That offended me. That seemed to me to be really misguided. But I learned that was all part of an actual strategy to what they call, in their terms, to radicalize the student body, right? And because there was an element who really felt that their job was to radicalize people politically. And when they say radicalize, that means change their philosophy to one which was explicitly left-wing or Marxist in interpretation. So there was a lot of explicit left-wing thinking and politicizing at the time. But then there was another group of people, a couple of whom I knew, like I say. So I say there was a group only in the sense that I imagine there were more than the people that I knew who had the same mentality, but saw it as an opportunity to do violent things because they wanted to do violent things. Because they were angry people. They didn't have any particular convictions, but they saw it as an opportunity, just as it was an opportunity for many kinds of activities. But anyway.
Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the flowers gone? long time ago. Where have all the flowers gone? Young girls pick them, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the young girls gone? Long time passing. Where have all the young girls gone? Long time ago. Where have all the young girls gone? Gone to young men, everyone. When will they ever?
A lot of it was personal soul searching. So a lot of it was just being young, trying to figure out what life was about for yourself. And it was an unusual time to do that. I think young people do that no matter what time it is, no matter what's going on socially. But I feel that that's what was so nice about being young at that time, was that there was a kind of a call to really take a chance with your life, to make a commitment to something that didn't necessarily focus entirely on yourself, that didn't focus entirely on the fears of just surviving and being okay in life. Because that's what you have when you're young. There's very natural fears that, is it going to work out? What's going to happen to me? You know, what nowadays, or maybe 10 years ago, I don't know about now. Now is an interesting time, I think. But 10 years ago, you could feel a lot more the sense of, well, what am I going to do for a living? How am I going to get a job and be comfortable and safe and secure, you know, which is itself a big challenge. And the nice thing about living in that time was that you were kind of encouraged to not worry too much about that. You were encouraged to think beyond yourself and beyond your fears about your uncertainty about the future.
Who are you encouraged by? Was it like
everything? So I think the music particularly, and Mom says the same thing. She's much younger, but she listened to that same music that I did, which is one thing that we have in common. Joni Mitchell and Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young and Bob Dylan and Simon and Garfunkel, and the sense that the encouragement to really think about what's valuable and what's going to last, what's going to really matter to you. If you look back on your life now, if you were at the end now looking back, are you going to regret not trying to do or not doing? That's what I remember about the spirit at the time. What was sort of different and what I really benefited from was that kind of an encouragement to take a risk and sort of think beyond myself. The big problem is the tragedy of the commons. That sums it up to me. Is how do people organize themselves in a way, socially organize themselves in a way that is non-divisive, non-combative, and friendly, right? Where we recognize everyone's potential and value, and we can collectively look for solutions to the problems that we all recognize as problems. And I don't know, ideology to some extent is an enemy of that, but I'm still astounded. That's what I feel like. So I feel like what we failed. I feel like our generation failed, basically. And that's what we failed at, was not having good ideas or good intentions, but not being able to translate that into social change consciously and deliberately. That's how I feel about it. So when my generation started being president, I was, Bill Clinton, okay, George Bush, who was a fine person, but I didn't even recognize the stuff he was saying. It was unfamiliar to me. I said, did he live through the same period that I lived through? And and did he really come to the conclusions that he came to based on that experience? I just feel that there was a failure to somehow realize there was a huge effort for us to self-education. We worked really hard to educate ourselves during that period. That's one way of looking at it. But we failed to translate that into a real kind of consensus social change.
Where have all the flowers gone? Long time past seen. Where have all the flowers gone?